this tutorial is to paint this really pretty blue jay that visits our backyard all the time. Actually, he has a bunch of friends that come. They love to splash around in the bird bath. Of course, they like to eat the bird seed and especially the peanuts we put out. So let's get started. I did a very simple outline here. I'm not going to focus a whole lot on the background. I did draw in a few leaves, but not a whole bunch. I'm just going to ignore a lot of that. But the main focus is the pretty blue jay. So I've got some ultramarine blue, which is pretty close to what the bird is. So I'm just going to paint kind of a light wash of this blue wherever I see the blue in the bird. I'm going to take kind of a damp brush here and kind of smooth that top edge here and let it kind of bleed out, kind of fade away to this little band of color up there and down in here as well. Just a little damp brush. Again, I'm going to take a damp brush and just kind of bleed some of this out here. And it's pretty dry. I shouldn't even call it damp. It's pretty dry. It's barely damp. Let's see, the top of his beak has the blue. I always check to see how damp my brush is. I'll actually wipe it on my fingers. If I see it's pretty wet, I'm going to take more off. I'm very tactile. I want to feel it. Okay. I think that's good. Now for the bird bath, I'm going to mix the same blue, ultramarine blue, with burnt sienna to get that gray color. This is probably a little too blue. It's actually pretty good. Do the darkest color underneath this section right here. The bird looks pretty already. And these two colors, the ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna, are granulating colors. So they're going to kind of separate and kind of make it look like a concrete water bird bath. Let the paint do some of the work for you, a lot of the work. more up here at the top. That kind of creates the shadow, and as you watch it dry, it's kind of separating the pigments on the paper. I just love the granulation. So we need to let this dry. Okay, the bird is dry, and I'm using the same mixture of the ultramarine and burnt sienna, and I've added some more water to it here to get it pretty light. It's pretty light, and watercolor always dries lighter. So I'm going to paint these kind of gray areas on the bird here, kind of at the top here. There's a little gray here. Then I'm going to take a damp brush and just smooth that edge. That needs to continue to dry. So now we're going to do the base of the bird bath here. This is going to be a lot darker than this. Currently it is not, so we're going to mix up more paint, less water. And I'm going to add some more shadow right here. Damp brush. Slightly damp brush. Let's just tickle those edges. Just tapping it in. I want it darker here at the top. I touched that bottom so it's bleeding up, but that's okay. It needs to be a little lighter there anyway, so I can do a little lifting, a little cleanup. Okay, I'm going to let that be before I mess it up some more. I've got a tiny brush here. I think it's like a size, I don't know, 1 or 2. It's so old, the lacquer has come off. And I've mixed up a darker blue here, and I'm going to come in and do these little details here. And I mixed it up with ultramarine blue and a little Payne's gray. If you have indigo, that's basically the color I'm mixing up. So I'll show you here. This is indigo from, I think it's my Da Vinci paint, and this is the color I've mixed up. So they're very similar. You want it a little bit darker, add more Payne's gray. You want a little more blue, add more ultramarine blue. So I'm just going to look at my reference photo and see where I need to add these little highlights, little details. I need to turn this so I can do the little lines. going to tap the very tip of the brush onto a paper towel or a rag here, because it'll have a lot of pigment that first touch to your paper. I don't want a big blob. Kind of looks like a blue jay, which is good because that's what it's supposed to be. Now the top of his beak is pretty dark. I don't think it's that dark, so I'm just going to dab it up. There we go. Now for this section of the bird, his collar, I don't know what it's called. I'm calling it a collar. I'm just going to use straight Payne's gray. That's pretty dark. I'm going to use some of this gray mixture of ultramarine and burnt sienna to go right around the top of his head, because it's a little bit darker. I'll take a damp brush and just smooth that out. Now for the bottom section of the beak, this is just the Payne's gray. And that top is a little bit wet, so it may bleed some. We'll see. No, it didn't do too bad. It did a little bit there, right by the eye. That's okay. We're going to lift it up. Damp brush. Okay, we're going to leave that bird alone. I love the markings on there. Looks really pretty. I'm going to take a little bit more of this dark blue that we created with ultramarine and Payne's and just add a little bit more here and there where I think it needs. Oh, I think he's pretty. Okay. Now I've got this light gray here, where I'm going to do this section right here, the top of the bird bath. His claw looks kind of funny. That's okay. Hopefully we won't focus on the claw. Okay, let's let this dry. Okay, it's dry. So I added some more burnt sienna to my gray mixture to get more of a brownish. That was the gray. This is the brown for the legs. I'll do the claws later when it dries. I've got a pretty dry brush here, and I'm going to try to do a little lifting here at the very top. It worked pretty good. Just do a little lifting. I'm getting excited. We're going to get to do the background soon. I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we can do another layer on this lower part of the rim. Okay, it's dry. So I've got this gray mixed up again, and I'm just going to go over just this bottom section. And this bottom section has a lot of texture in it. So I'm just going to take a damp brush, and then I'm just drop in a little water. Just touch the very tip of my brush into the water and just drop it in, and it's going to be pushing the pigment around, and it'll make some texture. Okay, let's let this dry. Got my handy dandy dryer here. Before I do the background, the green, I'm going to take a flat brush here, a damp one, and I'm just going to lift a little here. These colors lift so easily. See how easy that was? Okay, let's work on the background. Okay, for the background, I've mixed up a couple of piles here, puddles. I've got some lemon yellow and then some sap green. And I'm just going to paint over the background, the entire background, and just drop in these two colors. Kind of going back and forth. To turn this around so I can get to it. I never mix up enough paint. I want some yellowish color going on here. Yeah, there we go. Such bright colors, so pretty. Oh yeah, that is going to be pretty. Okay, we're gonna let this dry. Okay, the background's dry. So what I'm gonna do now is I've mixed up some of that lemon yellow with that indigo blue that I created from ultramarine blue and Payne's gray. And I've got a really, really dark green. Look how that dark forest green. So then I probably don't have enough mixed up. So I'm gonna just do a little bit more, some more ultramarine, more Payne's, and then more yellow. Maybe I don't have enough. So I'm going to do some negative painting, and simply negative painting is just painting around whatever the subject is. So I'm going to paint around these leaves. Some of the lines don't make a lot of sense to me, so I'm just going to kind of go with the flow. I'm not quite sure if I will follow what I've got mapped out or not. But I'm just painting that background. to make those leaves pop. Those are turmeric leaves in my backyard. They're huge. I'm not quite sure what's happening over here. I'm looking at it upside down. I'm not sure what is a leaf. Okay, I think I see. I've got to do his eye, and I'm going to use a pin for that because I don't have a steady enough hand to do a paintbrush to make that small of a line. I'm not sure what's a leaf anymore. Doesn't matter. It's going to read like leaves. Yeah, I think that kind of works. Okay, we're going to let this dry. Okay, it's dry. So where the leaves overlap in some areas, like here and here and over here, I'm going to do just a little bit of shading, just right underneath this leaf here. And then a slightly damp brush and just tickle those edges. I'm lifting a little paint from the layer below, but that's okay. It's just going to give the leaf texture. Damp brush. Over here. damp brush. And I think that's happening here too. I'm not sure. Just a little line. And I think here as well. Damp brush. That looks really pretty. Okay, now I'm going to get my pen here. Do it down here, upside down. I'm going to make a little circle. I'm going to make a little dot, a littler circle, and then I'm going to color around that circle because I want it to have a little highlight. And for the beak, I'm going to use the pen for that as well. Give it a little more pronounced. I may add a little bit here and there. Try not to do too much here. Okay, I think this is done. I'm going to let it completely dry and then come back and see if I need to do anything else. Okay, I forgot to draw the little claws here, so I'm just going to look at my photograph. I'm also going to try to do a little lifting for the legs. I got my 1/4 inch flat brush and it's just barely damp. I'm just right in the center. There we go. That gives it dimension. Let's see, anything else? Okay, I think that's good. Now I'm going to sign it. You could play around with the background doing some lifting, doing like a bokeh effect. That's fun to do, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. I did notice I've got a couple of stems here. Since I've got some of this paint right here, I think I will go ahead and show it. Okay, I'm looking at this right here and I don't like it. It's too white. I did too much lifting. And it made the bird look like it had a 3rd leg. So I'm just going to tickle, just barely tickle the edge. There we go. Now it doesn't look like it has a 3rd leg. It looks like it's the shadow of that leaf on top of that one. You know, I kind of like having the veins of the leaves. Oh yeah. Okay, now I'm calling it done. Oh, I really like it. Pretty blue jay. We see them every day. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing your blue jays. Thank you.